Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Poorboys Little Homestead. Thanks for dropping by. Today, I'm going to be building up me some more tomato cages. And I think this is one of the best tomato cages you can do, and for the price. So I'm going to show you what I got here, and then we're going to go build some. This is made out of 5-foot concrete reinforcement wire. It's got big blocks, 5 inches by 5 inch blocks, so it's easy to get your hands in and get your tomatoes. You can buy a 150-foot roll of this, and each cage takes 6.5 foot. So you can get around 23 cages out of a roll. And back when I bought this roll of wire, that makes my cages come up to like $6.50 a piece. And them little tomato cages they sell that they call tomato cages, if you get one of the good tall ones and the heavier duty wire, them other ones shouldn't even be called tomato cages, them $3 ones. They all right to put around some little bell peppers. But them bigger ones, they $10 to $12 a piece, and they still too small, because tomatoes, my tomatoes last year get 6-7 foot tall. But what I got here is 3 ideas put together in one. I put a cage around my tomatoes, and then I'm gonna take a T-post and I drive and I tie this cage to it, because last year during the hurricane, the winds got up. Even though I'm in North Louisiana, we got strong winds off of it, and it blowed my tomatoes over. So I'm gonna stake each cage with a T-post and tie it to this cage. But up on top, I just take me some bamboo cane. Where I live here is all on the side of the road, ditch banks. You can just go cut all you want. And you can see I cut 3 pieces here, about 4 foot long, and I zip tie them. I either use that fencing, electrical fencing wire, because it's galvanized and won't rust. I tie them here, bring them to a point at the top like a TP, tie them together with that wire. I've seen people just take their tomatoes TP style, but last year I come up with this on my own after seeing cages has always been around making them this way, but then I seen people using TP style, and then seen people where they use a string attach something high, and as their tomatoes grow and they wrap that string or clip it to that string. So I got 3 in 1 here. I got my cage, I got my TP, and then what I do, I use baling twine. You can buy baling twine at Tractor Supply for $22, and I forgot how many miles of strings on that roll. You buy tomato tying twine, you get 200 or 300 feet. Cost you $10 or $12 sometimes, but you buy this here will not break. It'll last all year, and you ain't got to worry about it. But I tie this up top. Every one when I build it, I put a piece of wire hanging down where I can reach it. I go ahead and I tie that string right there. And I run that string to the ground. Now a lot of people ties their string to their tomatoes, but to me that ain't good, because when the wind's blowing, that string's pulling on your tomato and stressing it. I use these ground fabric staples. I like the 8-inch ones. These are galvanized, they don't rust, which rust don't matter if it does. But I stake it at the bottom of that tomato. Usually what I do, I won't put the stake right by the tomato. I run one of these staples off to the side and stake it. Have my string coming over to my tomato. And then I put another little stake there just to hold it still. Usually I use a little short one then, because all I want to do is hold my string straight until my tomato starts growing. Once it gets about that tall, then I buy these little plastic clips. They reusable, you just push in them, open them up. I got a piece of wire here to demonstrate on. What's neat about these is when you put them on there, you put that string, like this wire was that string, you put it back here, the very back, and when you close it, you clip that around your tomato, and it locks. Well, see, that holds on to that wire, so it don't let that move nowhere, and then your tomato's got enough room, it ain't got nothing tight on it. As your tomato grows up, that string, you just keep adding them clips. Some of my tomatoes I actually started topping them because they was getting taller than that, and that right there is about, shoot, that's getting up there around 8 foot tall. I'm 5'10". You can see with my arms stretched up, I ain't even at the top. Last year I had to start topping my tomatoes at the end of the season because they was steady still wanting to grow. Also, what I like about doing it this way, if you leave your suckers on your tomatoes, which I pull a lot of mine off, but sometimes I'll leave a couple on there depending on what the tomato looks like. You can bring that sucker and lay it back down as it's growing and let it start coming back down the outside of the cage, and use these clips to clip it. And you can guide it and actually make it go around and around as it's going down. Then you got a good, everything stable, and you can control it, keep it where it can get good airflow to keep your diseases down. But that's the cheapest way and the best cage tomato system that I've come up with. And like I said, all three of them ideas is out there, been there for coons ages, but I just put them all three together in one system. Now I built a couple of these. I had some what I call dog wires, 2 foot by 4 inch blocks. But it's lighter gauge. But then you got to come cut you some bigger holes in it so you can get in there. But then you got to tape something over them jokers so they don't, them little wires, they're like a cat scratching you when you reach in there if you don't cover them. I just had some tape and stuff on them. But them's too lightweight. They way better than tomato cages, but they still too lightweight. I like the concrete wire. So that's how this system works. And now I'm gonna roll out one and show you how you make a cage. All right, guys. We're finna show you how you roll this out and cut it and make you a cage real quick. And like I said, this is concrete, reinforcement concrete wire. I think back when I bought this roll, it was 150 foot in a roll, but nowadays I think it's 100 foot in a roll. But I'm gonna roll this out, and what you do, you just count off 13 of these blocks. And you're gonna need some good cutters. These are 16-inch bolt cutters, because just a regular pair of wire pliers, this is some tough stuff. It's too hard to cut with wire pliers. It'll ruin your pliers, what it'll do. But I'm gonna roll this out and cut it and show you how I tie it with the wire itself. Because see, on the ends, when you cut it, you got these ends left over on every other piece. So you can use that to wrap around and tie it. But 13 of these blocks cut it, that'll give you a 24-inch round cage. You got to be careful with this, because especially when you get to the end of this roll like this, it'll come up on you, and them ends there will poke you and they'll cut you. It's better to have two people. One can stand on the end of it while you roll it out. But anyway, we finna get going. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. I got it laying on the ground here. I get my ends lined up. And I'll take one of them wires right here, the loose end sticking up. And I'll bend it around there. And I'll make me a whole wrap. Then if you wanted to, after you wrapped it, you could come back and cut them ends there off. I normally just leave them on there. On their food wood. But these cages will last you for years and years and years. Like I said, the holes is big enough you can stick your hands through to get your tomatoes. Tie your tomatoes up. Whatever else you need to do. And that string system I just showed y'all. But you gotta stake these cages. You may wouldn't have to do it with T-posts like I do, or gonna do this year. Cause last year I just had a regular wood tomato stick drove down. And after you do this, you see it's kind of egg shaped. Right where you just tied it, you just push down on it. Just keep pushing until you get it where it looks like a circle. Then you got you a 24-inch tomato cage. Now the bottom one end of this wire's got little wires. I always put that one down. The other one, they don't stick up as high on this roll. I guess probably every roll is different. But last year I just staked these with one wood tomato stake. Let's see, and when my tomatoes was up there 7 foot tall and that hurricane wind come through, it laid them all over that morning. A couple of them I could stood back up. It didn't break my tomato off. The majority of them, it broke them. Alright guys, now that I got my cages built, I come back and I cut my bamboo pieces. During the summer I went and cut me about 50 or 75 20-foot stalks of this bamboo. Clean it up and I just hang it back there and let it dry so I can have it for times like these. But I come in here and I just put that right beside one of them wires. And I take a zip tie. And you want to run it through one wire and back behind the other side of the, on the bottom on the back side. That way you can tie it in two places. Now I put them on here with these zip ties, and then I come back with some electrical fencing wires, galvanized wire. I use 17 gauge because it don't rust and it's cheaper buying it like that. But I put 3 of these stakes to make me a TP up top. It don't matter what they looking like up there now, because I can pull them together when I get up there to tie them together. Good zip ties will last all year, but I go on and tie mine with wire. That way, at the end of every year, I just set them back over here on my garden fence and tie them to that fence so the wind can't blow it over, and then I ain't got to fool with them. But this year I need more of them. They zip tied onto your cage. You see I'm on a 2-foot ladder and I'm 5'10" tall. So I'm at least 8 foot high up here. Go and put the zip tie. Then I got some of this 17 gauge, it's galvanized electrical wire. I go on tie my top. This is where I let the wire hang down far enough for me to reach it. Tie me a little loop right there. Then I unhook my string right there and go all the way to the bottom and put my stakes like I was showing y'all earlier. I'm gonna go over here and show you. Some of them I got around these, some pots. That's 4 wick pots lined up down through there. Them's gonna have tomatoes in them. You can see that cage just sits right around that wick pot. Plus these little pots, I got some holes drilled right here, and I take a zip tie and zip tie this cage to that pot. And when that pot full of dirt, ain't no wind gonna blow it over. If it is, it's gonna be more stuff blowed over, and I ain't gonna be worried about these tomatoes. All right, guys. It's awfully early. It ain't even the middle of March. But I got 4 tomato plants. They extra, so I went on and planted them. If it looked like we're gonna get frost, I'll put me a clear plastic bag over them at night. But here I want to show you how these cages work. You can see I tied my string to my wire. I have the wire run that way I can reach it while I hadn't get on anything. And I come down, and down at the bottom I put one of them landscape staples to hold that string tight. But I don't tie it there because to pull it straight up. I run my string over and I tie it to the edge of that cage. Then I use them little clips and I clip it to that tomato, and as that tomato comes up, I clip it. Now if I leave any shoots on them tomatoes, as they come up, I'll pull them off to the side and use them clips and clip them to this cage. But that's how this little setup works. Now on these 4, I put this little cage in the inside of this big cage. This is one of these little cages they sell as a tomato cage, but it ain't big enough for nothing. But the reason I done that, because I know we're gonna be getting some more frost and stuff. I can take a clear plastic bag and put right down over the top of them tomatoes at night. But I got 1 of each of these tomatoes here in my greenhouse extra, so I decided just to put these out early. If something happens and they don't make it, I got 1 I can replant later on when it is tomato planting time. If they do make it, I'm gonna have a big head start on them. But anyway, guys, I hope this gives some of you some ideas. If you like watching these videos, give me a thumbs up. Hit subscribe, because I'm always making videos, and I come up with a lot of ideas just like this. This wasn't my idea on the cage, but I put three ideas together that I seen and made my own out of it. And I'm always doing stuff like that. And I like showing it that way. People might want to do that, or if you have another system, please leave it in the comments. Tell me how you do yours, or put some suggestions down there on what I ought to try. Anyway, thanks for watching. God bless and have a great day.